Conference
This
will now be
regular
recorded.
session of the Common Council of the City of Port Orford. It's Thursday, February 19th, and we're starting at 5:30. We're going to begin with the roll call. Councillor Brennan.
Here.
Councillor Rask.
Here.
Councillor Lovendall.
Here.
Councillor Burns.
Here.
Councillor Pogwizd.
Jim here.
Councillor Webb.
Web present.
Excellent. We also have with us this evening City Administrator Radcliffe, and we have also Recorder Joseph Harrison. And I see online that we have another elected official, Curry County Commissioner Lynn Coker is here. So please join me in standing, rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I don't think we have any additions to the agenda, so let us move on to citizen concerns. Do we have anybody? I think we have Penny. Would you like to come up to the?
Good evening, councilors, Mayor Ann, Joseph, and Melissa. I'm coming tonight to talk to you about the tree removals that happened near me. And I have major concerns about the extensive removals that took place near me on the 9th Street right-of-way between Jefferson and Deedy Street last week. I'm accustomed to regular tree trimming near power poles and lines by Coos Curry Electric, but this time it went way beyond anything I've seen before in the 15 years that I've lived on Deedy Street. And it is not only in that location. I've also seen extreme vegetation clearance throughout the city by the CCEC tree contractor, from topping trees to grubbing out low shrubs and plants, especially near power poles. I'm sure you've also heard the chainsaws and chipper working for weeks and have seen the stumps and piles of wood left behind. I understand the safety issues, the fire issues, and the liability issues, but I still think the response went overboard. I've looked into the regulations around power line clearance, including the Public Utility Commission safety standards, CCEC's wildfire mitigation plan, and the governor's executive order of 2020 that in part required increased evaluation of electric utilities and wildfire. It seems to me that there is a lot of discretion built into such regulation, which can be good if allowances are made to save trees, and bad in cases of aggressive interpretation of vague standards. I found only one hard and fast measurement of vegetation clearance, which is in the PUC Chapter 860, Division 24 of the Oregon Administrative Rules. It said, quote, "An operator of electric supply facilities must maintain the following minimum clearances of vegetation from conductors. 5 feet for conductors energized at 600 through 50,000 volts, end quote. There are other measurements given for other voltages, but it was confirmed to me by the CCEC right-of-way supervisor in an email yesterday that the line, the conductor running up 9th Street carries 14,400 volts. And that's pretty low for the various voltages throughout the state. The power line clear cut on 9th Street removed all trees and all other vegetation taller than a few inches in an area at least as wide as any street in town outside of 101. I was told that the next step is to come in and grind down what little is left and maybe apply herbicides. I now have a wind tunnel aimed at my home. The steep hill is at risk of erosion and infestation with gorse and Scotch broom, and the privacy screen between me and the lower town is gone. Not only that, but I love those trees. I value the sense of living in a forest in the middle of the city, where birds nest, where wildlife shelters, and where native plants flourish. I question whether some of this vegetation maintenance took place outside the right-of-way. Clearly, large trees on private property across the street from me were limbed up and vegetation was removed around the home. Also, I believe that the city took advantage of the power company regular maintenance program to clear the way for new water lines that are probably years away, as you all know. So why? Finally, I was going to appeal a decision by the city to mark a tree for removal that's on the boundary of our property and the Dee Dee Street right-of-way. But since last Thursday in my discussion with CCEC, I've learned that they are only requiring the tree be pruned, and the city accepts that determination now. I'm very appreciative of all the conversations that have been happening. I know that other trees in my property under power lines will be removed in this cycle. I've been able to discuss this in advance with CCEC. I don't think many residents have had that opportunity. Unless you're home when the contractor comes by, you may return to an unwelcome surprise. There's no advance notification. Other citizens who have had trees removed should know that CCEC has a tree replacement program. I plan to take advantage of it, but a tree that will only mature in 10 or 20 years is a poor substitute for one removed now. Thank you for this opportunity to bring this issue to your attention. I wonder if the city can do anything to make this process more transparent and less painful for homeowners.
Thank you, Penny. Do we have any other people that would like to speak? Although we don't normally take the opportunity to respond to speakers, I wanted to mention that given the situation, I have reached out to Coos Curry Electric to get more information. Penny shared some more information with me. And I've asked them to please help inform our community more about what's going on, why are they being more aggressive this time, what the criteria are that they're using, all that kind of stuff. I was told that they have it on, they put it in the rural light and they have it on their website, but I don't think, I think it's very general. And when people have trees that are in front of their house or something, like is the case with Penny and some other places around town, people want to understand it better. So I've had that communication, and it's based on what you've said tonight. I will follow up further, Penny. So thank you for sharing the information with me.
The trees that they'll replace with are grow pretty
Can you
fast.
type in the microphone, please?
They're kind of short. I think they're shorter, but fast growing. I mean, if that's any consolation, I can't remember what type of tree it was, but I've had this discussion with them in the past, and it's kind of a brushier, lower. It's not going to be your Doug fir that's beautiful, but it's something that grows faster than, I hope it grows faster than what you're hearing.
Well, I'm going to ask for rhododendrons.
Well, they'll probably give you those.
They can be tall or they can be short.
They'll probably give you those.
Yeah, I do believe I had to work with this tree cutter to preserve a tree on my property, but I happened to be there at the time and worked with him. But it is rhododendrons that he offers, rhododendrons and a shrub. of some
Yes,
kind.
kind of shrub.
Yeah, and so,
I-
but I do appreciate Mayor Ann for going and speaking and asking for more, because there's someone in my neighborhood who was gone, came back and was,
Yeah, and I've gotten a number of calls from people myself. I don't know if you have, but that's, I mean, to answer, I'd hoped, I actually invited the gentleman to come tonight, and I will share information if I get it back from you. But basically, it sounds like the reason they're being more aggressive now than they've ever been ever since I've lived here either is because people are, very concerned about fire safety and liability to electric utilities because of fire. And so they are trying to have kind of clearance around their higher power, higher voltage. That's not the right terminology. They have a particular terminology. So that's what they're doing this time. It's different than in the past. And it is per state, guidelines. So anyway.
I don't think anybody reads that magazine. Does anybody read the Rural Life? I don't know.
I read the rural.
Do you really?
I
Okay.
only look for,
I see it.
whatever, the part where they have, the dating in the back. No.
That's where I knew you from.
My grandmother's looking for a 92-year-old guy. Okay. So thank you for that, and let's keep posted on that, because I do think it is of matter concern to our citizens. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we'll go on. We have the consent calendar, which today has some minutes in it.
Yes, so I'll move to approve that calendar.
Second?
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Counselor Brennan,
Yes.
Counselor Rask,
Yes.
Counselor Lovendall,
Yes.
Counselor Webb,
Webb, yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Pogwizd.
Tim, yes.
Okay. Moving along, we have our presentation to the council, which is Susan Russell representing Main Street. Why don't you come on up, Susan? And I want to preface this by saying, you remember last summer, or June or something like that, as part of our effort to do budget work and finance work, we updated our TLT code, which means we raised the rate. We went back into the code to do a lot of cleaning things up to make it work better. And as part of that, we realized, gosh, we don't have a sufficient memorandum of agreement with Main Street, who is the organization in our city that's designated to receive TLT funds. So we went through, we did that MOA, we worked on it with Main Street. And as part of that agreement, we have asked that Main Street comes every year, giving us a review of what they did last year and presenting a budget for this year that we will hopefully adopt. And then that will be ready to go in our budget. So that's the overall thing. So
That's
please,
overall,
Susan.
yes. You took part of my speech.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Just a real big, tiny history. We were named the advertising agency to promote Port Orford tourism in 2019 when the Chamber of Commerce was dissolved here. And at that time, the focus of the advertising was print media, with ads in Travel Oregon publications, Mile by Mile, 1859 Oregon, and that sort of thing. Print media, you buy a little tiny section because with a budget at that time of $7,000 for the year, you weren't going to get a whole page ad. And so it was minimal at best, but we were doing what we were told to do. Since 2021, the change with the change in Main Street's leadership and the considerable donated marketing skills of Kim Foster, the focus has switched to online promotions in hopes to attract a younger audience here, more suitable for outdoor sports and all the beautiful things there. We still have ads in those other publications, but we have spent more money and are continuing to move that way because online, believe it or not, is where it's at. Kim developed the Discover Port Orford campaign. If you've never been to that website, you ought to go. The state president or leader of Main Street says that's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. She says, I want to be there now. And then Kim also posts almost weekly and sometimes more, especially when a lot of things are going on, pictures of things going on, events, not just Main Street sponsored, but also, go to this shop. They're doing this week. She's promoting the businesses and events in town. And we now have on Facebook and Instagram over 6,000 followers, people that will see these in their feeds whenever she posts. So that's pretty dang cool, I think. We've also started to do special events. next weekend, not tomorrow, or this weekend, but the end of February, we're doing an encore of the Winter Waters event, which was super successful last year. I even have customers at my vacation rental are coming from Ashland to be part of it. We now will be one of the first, if not the first event in the community center, with over 31 artists signed up to be part of the Winter Waters Arts and Crafts shows. We're really excited about being one of the first in there. And then the Port Gorford event last fall, both of these are shoulder season events, trying to bring tourists. In the summer, we don't need help. We're full. But in the winter, it's nice to support our businesses and restaurants and lodgings with something that might bring them here. And Port Gorford, although I don't think we got traffic from far away, there were people from Bandon, from Coos Bay, from Brookings, from Gold Beach that drove that extra hour just to come down and be part of that just hilarious and fun event. And the businesses loved it. We loved it. And we had bought 3,000 of the little coins thinking, oh, we'll have plenty for years to come. We handed out 2,800 of them. We have 200 left. That's how big the participation was. So that's pretty cool. In June 2023, we also took over the management of the visitor center, which had been, we were renting it for our meeting and office, and nothing was happening. So we took it over, and Kitty Million took on the management of it, and she's done an amazing job getting volunteers, getting things organized. She's there all the time doing this or that. She's just amazing. Last spring, we applied for and were awarded a $42,000 grant for the renovation of the visitor center. We had a 30% match come in, which was what the grant required, from Plum Level and Square, the city public works people, city administration, and a lot of Main Street volunteers. We had like 700 hours into in-kind stuff going on. And Public Works helped us to moving the big furniture out when we were getting ready to do the floors. So that was really cool. Also, those murals that were vandalized last spring, we sought grants for replacing those, and we got, of course, the city kicked in $3,000 from their TLT funds, and then Bandon Dunes Charitable Fund threw in $2,000, and the Ford Family Foundation with $2,000. So for once, a local artist is getting paid what he really deserves for the time and effort that he put in. Yay! So as the visitor center will probably reopen sometime next week. We're not completely done, but it's done enough that we can proceed. We have a new metal roof. We have all new windows, and the ones facing the ocean are no longer sliders, so the winds can't make water come around those sliders and flood the floors. We have a mini split heating system. The entire building is now with LED light fixtures inside and out. The carpet is gone. It's been leveled and sanded, and there's new concrete stain and a very very naturalistic, cool look to it. We have some new plumbing fixtures for the staff bathroom, and the automatic metering faucets in the public restrooms. There was only, well, anyhow, they're new and they work and they're beautiful, and everything has been painted except the public restrooms, and we'll try to get to that when the weather's a little warmer. And all we have really left to do is replace the two metal doors that to the maintenance room and the back door to the center. Every time we shut them, another piece falls off. But Chris Marsh is getting some solid fiberglass ones, so they're very expensive, but they should last forever because they're not going to rot or anything. And then we are going to install a security system there too, outside and inside. The Parks Department, I believe, got one a long time ago, and we're going to try to make it work for the inside, but the outside. We did get a call from Melissa today about an issue with the dark skies ordinance and the new lights outside, which are quite bright. And I talked with Lloyd Pedro today, and he is going to investigate some shrouds to go over them and otherwise he will find a different kind and replace them, probably at our expense, but that's okay. So the budgets that you have in your packet are the result of a great team effort by Ann and Kitty and Tim and I to develop that MOA. And the first one is the reports that we have so far. We were told that there was 15,894 available. And the first quarter, we've switched to going with the fiscal year like you do, rather than the calendar year like we were. So we had at the end of the second quarter 84,96,29 to spend, and so the board and mainly Kim and I and Kitty proposed how to spend that with the remaining ones. We are a little bit off on some accounting. Tim had given us a figure in 23 it was of a certain amount, and I can't find 7,000 of that that supposedly we had, and we probably would have been a little less generous or a little less. Anyhow, so we're not paying for Jubilee this year. That's still on you guys. You know that. That was part of the terms of it. But next year, we've got $8,000 right off the top of our budget, which was 18,000. So we'll have significantly less to spend next year. And I'm hoping we can figure out where that went because
Looking into that.
Well, so I called you and talked to you about that. So I had Dina go back and look to 2022 and I have these if people want to look at them as far as what she could find for the accounting within our Tyler system. And she went back and looked at all of these things, and that's the number that we
Okay,
built it on. So
that is the number?
That's the number, because I
okay,
had her
I didn't
go.
realize.
We talked on the phone last week about it.
Oh, last week. Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago, I know. But if people want to look at that, this was what we built the MOU on, and this is what we built this to
Okay,
say, this is
okay.
what we have.
If that's it, it's fine. I mean, we're just gonna have to scrimp next year because that $8,000 is a big hit before we get the other. money.
And we have, if you recall, we're kind of in this transition because we're going to start getting more money. We had this money coming in the past, and we're trying to make this transition to the fiscal year thing. So
Yeah, changing the
hopefully-
percentages and changing to the fiscal year is different, you know.
yeah,
So.
so. But anyway.
Anyway, if that's it, that's fine. And you did say that if we really got in a bind, that we could ask for an advance or something.
Right.
Because
As
we're
we-
not going to do any print advertising next year because we can't afford it.
Because nobody reads the rural light.
Is it in there?
Any questions?
I've got a few minor little questions. One is, I noticed that another big chunk of money gets spent on stickers. And so I was wondering, do I have one? I was wondering if I can get a sticker for my water bottle. And then also, where
Come
do
to the
those?
visitor
Right here.
center.
I know. Yeah, I know. They're really cool. Where do those go? Are those do those go out into the world? Or are they at the visitor center or where?
They go to the visitor center and we also go to conferences. So we're going to the TSOC conference next Monday, which will be up in Coos, and we'll have them there available. So they are spread out, but so many people grab stickers. We've gone through several thousand of them already. People love the stickers.
They're a thing now.
So,
Yeah.
so they're traveling all over the world.
Okay, cool. The other thing I did want to alert council to that we did in this MOA, which we approved, we did put in 8,000 for Jubilee next year. And so we're not talking about like this 4th of July, we're talking about like the next year. Because what we're trying to do with this budget is one of the things Susan and the Main Street people were asking us is they want to know how much money they're going to spend instead of guessing. And we don't really know because it depends on the money that comes into TLT. So we've kind of tried to do this move where I guess it's this year and then going into the next year, we're using the reserves up. But then moving forward, the money that we take in last year will be spent like in the future. So they'll have a clear amount. And as part of that, we're trying to, every year the Jubilee comes and asks the city for money. We're trying to, since we're going to be getting more money through the TLT funding, to have it come out of this fund. So that's kind of where we took a stab at that amount. And we may not want to have it that much, but that's what we agreed to begin with. But this is, we can adjust it. So just saying that.
Was that the amount you had always given them?
We had given them, I think, 5,000 one year. Then after COVID, they came and asked for like 15,000 because they were in really deep trouble. And so we gave them that. Then they were wanting more. And then they've come back, so their costs like for everything is going up everywhere. So they want more, definitely.
I don't think we did give them 15. I
No.
think we agreed on a lesser
10?
amount. It fell somewhere between 8 and 10, and I can't remember that far
Okay.
back, but
They asked for
think-
15.
I think they
we
asked
just
for
couldn't do the 15.
Yeah, okay.
And then as we all know, with the budget constraints. So anyway, we originally guaranteed 5,000 to the Jubilee Committee years ago.
Right.
This is a new committee, and like you said, everything's gone up so high.
Well, the fireworks used to cost 5,000 is what it was. And,
Yeah, that
now
or
they're like
more.
100 million. or
Now
something.
they're, yeah.
So we did guarantee 5 from last year for them for this year. And it's going to come up again in our budget process. How much do we want to give them? And our budget works together now because we are giving the monies we collect to our agency that does tourism promotion. So we have this relationship together. And so, we put in the MOA 8,000 to start, and that, we can adopt that, or if we have any changes in the budget, we could make it, but this is.
But we also increased that TLT 3%, so it'll greatly increase how much money
Right.
goes to Main Street.
Eventually.
Yeah, we understand if we can get through these 2 years,
Yeah.
then it should be better. It's just, there was a couple of things that came up that, we're going to have, no, we're not.
Right.
So
Yeah,
do
we
you-
should have a better figure after we can get to that collection of that extra 3%. And then,
Through this summer.
you kind of know every year it's safe to kind of leave it where it is and not be shortchanged. It's kind of like, claiming
Mhm.
zero on your taxes or whatever, you either pay it now or you pay it later. So anyway, but the first year will be the telltale on what's going to happen, and we may have to adjust from there. We don't know.
Yep. Right.
We did put an awful lot of thought into it, and Main Street was wonderful. They
Mhm.
worked with us, and as far as the 7,000 goes, I don't know, we've had a
Yeah.
tough time
Yep,
here
I
at the
get
city
it.
without a finance
Where is
director,
that?
and Dina is doing the very best she can do.
No,
We
that's,
So I think it's,
it was just,
Understood, yeah.
I have the paper that says this much.
I recall, as I worked with you on that.
Yep,
Right.
and I appreciate that. It's been great working with Ann and Melissa and you on getting this set up. We feel so great now that we know what we have to spend. It just makes it better.
Yeah, I think it's good. And thank you for helping us get through this transition because I think we're setting a good course for the future. We have our budget categories that tier to our code and also to state law. So everything's kind of lined up better and I think we'll be in good shape moving forward.
and that's this whole idea of like squaring something up that had been a little squishy for quite a while. And so these are the things of cleaning up some of that.
Well,
to make it
now
right.
we know that there are deadlines when you want these and that helps too.
Right.
I was just turning them in as they came up down the pike.
And I would say Dina always says that, Susan, you do such a brilliant job of turning everything in and being very precise of what it is. And working to upgrade the visitor center has been lovely, trying to get that. And it looks so nice and so welcoming and warm. And I know that you folks have put in so much time and effort. So it is very, very much appreciated. So thank you.
Well, it
Absolutely.
should last for you, yeah.
Yeah.
You are an absolutely extraordinary volunteer, Susan. I can't thank you enough.
It's fun.
We should talk about doing a grand opening, ribbon cutting or grand opening for this visitor center. So we make sure we celebrate that fabulous accomplishment too when you're done.
Yeah, we'll do that. We want to have a celebration of the murals going back up. I think
great.
that would be a good time to do both.
Okay, excellent.
Do.
I'll have a few more things, but those doors, they've got to be replaced first.
Okay. So we have on our agenda later to accept this budget or adopt this budget. Does anybody have any more questions before we?
Just, maybe not so much for you, Susan, but for us, is that $7,000, do we find it? Did I miss the part where we said we found it or that?
So Susan had called and talked about it and had her paperwork that she had listed from 22 and 23. And so I had asked Dina about that. So I printed out, this is the sheet that in December, that as we went through and Dina collected everything to say where. You want to pass
Yeah,
that?
I had one, the only thing I thought might have been it is that Tim went and got all the funds from not just 23, but further back.
Right. And so what she could do, because we had the switchover of Tyler and then there's just things between the county having the hack thing, it messed up some of our things, which shouldn't
Yeah,
be related,
it's
but it
fine.
seemed to have been.
I was
Right.
just,
But
if
so
it
she
was
went back
gone, we'd
to the
like it
yeah.
back.
So she went back to fiscal year 21, 22 and pulled all of these to kind of do a deep dive to find out how much was here and what had happened. And so this is what she found in the
No
accounting
problem.
of that we have.
Really isn't a problem. You don't.
Well, it is a problem if it's a question of like, where did $7,000 go? That is a problem. That's the
That's money.
transparency piece, correct? And so, but this is what, when she went back to look at those this is what, again, we have on record of in the
Okay.
Tyler system of what's available. So that was why, again, in December, when we were talking about this is what we pulled forward and said, okay, here was what we have with that. So that was what she could do of kind of doing her investigative
Good.
accounting to find out what was actually there. And so this is what
So the
she has.
7,000 not missing.
It's
Well,
not,
It could have been the original figure given to us was not accurate at the time. That's all.
right. And so there could have been some encumbrances that weren't all the way through. There could have been some other things. And I don't know, these are some of the things that as we were without a finance director and there were, lots of folks in the office, everything else that.
And we were
that
doing it fiscal year and then they were doing
they were
it
doing
calendar year.
calendar year,
And
which
that's
is different.
sometimes can make the numbers come out differently depending on when you're doing it. So
Right,
we're,
right.
as you
So
said,
now we're all on the same page and we should go forward happily.
trying to square things up.
No hard feelings. It was just where'd that go or what?
Correct. And it makes
I
sense.
personally don't think anybody that we lost $7,000 or anybody took $7,000. I think what happened was they had monies available during COVID they didn't use, and those monies we rolled forward. And that was Dina's best attempt at coming up with a number that Susan and I got together on And I gave her that number, but Dina wasn't in charge of doing that. David was always in charge of that number. And I think it somehow got,
It was right, carried over and kept, and then it became 14 instead of 7, and
yeah, I honestly don't believe that anybody took money.
No,
that
I don't.
We're not aware of, like
No.
there's some kind of a crime here.
No.
yes, I trust you, Tim. Thank you for that explanation.
Because Susan was after me to get that number, and Dina said, I gotta really put a lot of work into this to figure it out. And she gave me her, her best guess at that number. And it looks like this number is $7,000 less than that.
Not a problem, honestly.
If I thought there
Don't
was any
sweat
kind
it.
of fraud or anything
Well,
like
no, I
that,
just-
I'd be.
We're not going to
Yeah.
storm the Capitol, so
Yeah.
don't worry.
No.
Well, what we were trying to do, and we've been trying to do with all of these things, is get our numbers straight so that we can move forward and then, and be transparent
And
about
be
them.
transparent.
Bring
That's
them
what that was
here,
the whole-
everybody's paying
That was
attention.
the whole exercise, is to try to figure out what do we actually have? How are we collecting it? What can we say, yes, you have to move forward with? What do we have the accounting records for based on what has been audited with this and all of that? And this was the whole point, is to try and suss out where are we? What can we count on? What can we reliably tell them? This is what you can spend. Absolutely. And we're
It's
taking that very seriously.
And we're on it. We're on it in a much better way now, all working together on it.
We feel wonderful about the way it is.
I know, I do too. I think we're in good shape.
Thank you for your time.
Does anybody have any other questions for
Do
Susan?
a motion?
Well, it's on the agenda later. This is still the presentation
Oh,
department, so we'll pick it up later, but
Cool.
it's the way it goes. Yes, Joseph?
In theory, you could motion to immediately move to that item, so you vote on it before you do departmental reports, just while it's on everyone's mind.
Okay, we can do that. If somebody, so is it a 2-motion thing, or is it, I can
You
just,
do it via motion or by consensus.
okay, do you want to take the vote now, do you guys, or do you want to?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'll move to accept the proposed Main Street budget as written.
I second it.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Counselor Brennan?
Yeah.
Counselor Burns?
Yes.
Counselor Pogwitz?
Jim, yes.
Counselor Rebb?
Webb, yes.
Counselor Lovendall?
Yes.
Counselor Rask?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Susan, so much. That is a really bright spot. And I'm just, before you go, Susan, I just want to say one other good thing, which is, I mean, it is extraordinary how our volunteers in this community contribute. And I mean, to think of Main Street having, and Susan in particular, but renovating that whole building for us in such an extraordinary way, running the visitor center and doing all of this promotion online and everything. I mean, what these guys are doing, what this organization is doing is just extraordinary. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. I'm just in awe when I think about it. Okay, so we will move on to our departmental reports. And the first one is Administrator Radcliffe.
Okay, and mine sort of bridges two situations. So mine is the page 7 of my start is behind the presentations to the council. So before what we just went over with Susan Russell. So the community policing piece, community building information, and the Hubbard Creek dredging project is on this front piece. So if you have questions for me, what I will hold up on this is the, so Joseph, if you'll zoom in, the ribbon cutting celebration for this Saturday on the 21st of February from 1 to 4. You'll see, you've seen these around town, hopefully, and in the packets to welcome the community back to the community center. So this has been a labor of love, and it's beautiful. And if you look at the bottom picture where we started and then what we have now, it's absolutely stunning. So it's been a long road to hoe, but it's been, I think, well worth it. So we'd like to cordially invite people who are listening and also, of course, council to that event. And then,
Before you go on, because Joseph wanted to ask, can we just get a hand raise of who's going to be at that event or who's thinking about coming? Because if everybody's coming, we might have to do a notice for it. So if everybody, okay, 1, 2,
I
Three.
don't think you would have to do that, but I would like to be there.
3,
All right.
4,
I will
5.
Get it out that there will be a quorum of the council, but there will be no city business discussed.
Thank you.
Just for making sure we're doing that correctly. And then if you go past to the departmental reports, it starts the second part of that, which was the budget planning, and also just for me, a heartfelt thank you to everyone. And I've listed you there, including the first gentleman, Tim Palmer, which I was excited to put on there, of helping paint the city hall offices. That was a huge project over MLK weekend. I'm so thankful and so grateful for everyone's efforts on that. It just makes such a big difference. And I think, you know, Marissa was able to, in the front there, was able to adjust her space in a much more ergonomic and thoughtful way. And it feels really good in there. So thank you very much for that time and effort. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And the only other thing I have to add to this, because it has come up, I know that we've had some folks concerned about warming fires in Ray's Woods. So there's folks in there with warming fires and with cooking fires, which is legal by state law. That is okay for them to do that, just like if you had a outdoor fire pit in your backyard or something, that's legal to do. Obviously, if they were burning debris, that'd be the 4x4 pile and all the yard debris things where they would need a burn permit, but this is separate from that, just like any other citizen that's there. However, there was a load of firewood that was brought in there, and that was a concern to folks. And since talking to Chief Hobart and Officer Brennan, that is now being mitigated and removed because that was not part of the gig. So anyway, I just wanted to give an update to that because I know there's been citizens who saw that and were concerned, and so that has been addressed. So thank you.
Melissa, can I ask you a question about that? I thought when we passed our time and place rules, or what was it called, that we specifically actually did outlaw fires because the fire concern right in the middle of town.
Right, so we looked at that because Joseph and I asked the same thing. I was like, hold on, because I had asked last week, Officer Brennan and Chief Hobart, and their understanding was, well, by state, they can have warming fires and cooking fires, that they can do that. And so Joseph and I looked, he pulled up the code and we looked at it, and it didn't see that. I guess we were looking at the fire, we were looking at the burn, well, the,
Time, place, and manner.
It's on the time, place, and manner code, if I'm not mistaken. I recall
Yes.
us, several
Saying no.
councils were very concerned about a fire in that area, and
So
we can obviously revisit it, but
summer months are going to be,
well, and that's when there's a burn ban or there's things like that. They can't do that.
but
which-
according to our burn ordinance, a small fire can be used in the summertime. So we're going to have to.
Depending on what level, depending on what the fire level is, you're correct. But if it's a,
No, it was, what were the fires? I forget how I called them. Ceremonial fires.
yes, it's
That was the
so that or in a
question.
barbecue or in a yard patio,
Right.
you know, thing that, yes, that would work. But there were specific things on
There's
there.
another thing though, which is that the liability is for the property owner for who the fire is on. I mean, I think that's sort of a thing that's going on in the state, that if somebody starts a fire and it's on your land and you didn't have like no trespassing signs or something, you're liable. But I think that was one of the reasons we did put that into the time, place, and manner. And I do think cities have the opportunity to be more restrictive in some respects. I mean, you couldn't say, you know.
You couldn't loosen up the state law, but you could, I think that you could add a little bit more restriction to it. Well, we did. If you look at our burn ordinance.
So I will look at that again. Again, when talking with them, they talked about, well, the state had said that they could have cooking fires and warming fires. And so that was kind of where we had gone with that. But I will look again and follow up on that too.
And in the summer, when there are fire restrictions, the only fires that are allowed are in what they call managed campgrounds. So that obviously, even the state of Oregon sometimes bans burning in the summer when it gets real extreme.
Correct.
I mean, most managed campgrounds wouldn't allow it in the
Mhm.
summer because the winds are just, I mean,
Whipping.
you know, so I don't know. And I don't know if we're gonna allow fires over there, do you want multiple fires over there burning or, you know, I don't, I think we need to revisit
I
it.
think we need to revisit the whole thing.
Well, I agree with you on that too.
I would like to revisit the whole thing.
What,
think
which
so.
whole thing? The,
Just the
Place, time, and
whole
manner.
time, manner, our ordinance, which bundles this into a certain place. I think it may not be working for us,
You think what?
that it might not be working.
And we've talked
we've
about
talked about it.
and it's, Counselor Burns, I know, has wanted to elevate it again and have a discussion. And it's just been one of those things that we haven't gotten to, but maybe we should put it ahead of the summer, especially get it onto an agenda item. One of the things that we had talked about was trying to have a meeting with some of the law enforcement officers to come up with kind of like a proposal for some things are better to bring back to council. So maybe we could ask staff to, you know, have have a preliminary conversation with officers to say what's working, what's not, and
You just have no teeth. There's nothing. that
Bring
we can
back.
do. It's just a
Right.
civil, it's a civil violation. There's no teeth to any of it.
And that's what officers have talked about, that we have had people who have been trespassed from there or have been cited if they've stayed too long or done those things. But then their officers are waiting for the response back or what happens from folks that come into municipal court and have those. And they haven't had any of that feedback from the municipal court. And I think a lot of it has to do with folks who get those tickets and things don't come to court.
Yeah.
And then there's no, and because it's an ordinance, it's not as if they're going to go out and arrest these folks for whatever.
Once it
There's
becomes
not good.
trespassing, then it's criminal. But prior to trespassing, then it's just a civil thing and there's very little that can be
Right.
done.
And I have seen where they have trespassed some folks out of there and then they would follow up on that if that happened. And you're right, that would go to Prairie County, but the ones that are just staying too long or whatever, we are not getting any traction by the municipal court situation here.
So we created this little environment and we attached rules to it, but we can't enforce our rules. So I think it would be easier to just get rid of the whole thing than to come up with ways to enforce.
well, we're constrained by state law still, don't
Exactly.
forget.
We
So
don't have to, what we can say is just do what you do like we did before.
Yep.
And we never had a problem. I mean, we didn't have problems with campfires in the woods next to Ray's until we put everybody in.
yeah, but I think still have to do time, place and manner by the state.
I don't think we do.
No, we don't have to. We have to give them a place if we're going to say that you can't camp on public, you can't be on public property, right? Then we have to give them a place to go to. But if we say nothing, then they can go, and I don't mean they to, dehumanize anyone
course
or
not.
discount anyone's existence, but those persons
We're experiencing homelessness.
who are experiencing temporary homelessness, hopefully. Maybe they had some more suitable.
Well, what I would like to propose was what I was proposing is this is not on the agenda tonight. So I don't really want to go down a rabbit hole because we could talk about this for 10 hours. And so as I suggested, Melissa, I think what would be great is if you could plan before the summer. So either next meeting or thereafter, the following meeting, because we have a lot of other items that are coming up with budgeting, to see if you can get together with the officers who work on this and come up with some ideas of if there are any things that we could do better. And if any counselors want to work on that, we could convene a committee to get people back to think about those things. And then let's have a dedicated, either if we want to have a work session, we could, or if we think we can do it, if like a proposal comes forward that you think we could handle in a meeting, we could do it that way.
And I think the hard part with this is that we were waiting before for the Supreme Court to make a decision about all of that, if you recall. And then the state of Oregon, though, even once that came down, the state of Oregon said, well, the Supreme Court could do that, but here's the rules for Oregon. And so they had specific things. And so the last time we went to a conference that talked about this, it was very much that cities, yes, you can have time, place, and manner, but even time is a little bit squishy because if the person works graveyard, then you can't really kick them out during the day. And it became very much like it's such a minefield for municipalities to try and wade through, that it's really hard to do that, because there was a point at which they said, you can't tell them where they can't, you can tell them where they can't go, but you have to tell folks where they can go because they have a right to eat and they have a right to lay down and to rest and to do all that. And so the best practice at that time was to say, yes, time, place, and manner, we can adjust that. And that was why the place needed to be chosen to say, this is where you can be. And so that was why what was done was done. And now I haven't seen any like new guidance from the LOC or these things, but I know that it's, again,
And that's something to look into.
and that's something to look into because,
But I don't think it's changed from what I haven't seen anything either.
Right,
and
I
we
haven't
try to
either,
pay
so.
attention, So,
We have created, the only concern I have is we have created this space in the
Mhm.
middle of our town,
Mhm.
which is growing from Ray's to
beyond the
close to
wetland.
Swag or whatever the name of that business is.
Mhm.
It's grown quite large. And the reason I would like to talk about it again is I had a young woman approach me the other day that was very uncomfortable at Ray's. So there are people that are concerned that that camp has grown to what it's grown to.
Right.
There's some of us it doesn't,
Yep.
affect.
Okay, so yeah,
Anyway.
if you don't mind, we're just going to move on to the
Yep.
next item here. I wanted to add to your report, Melissa, because I'm so excited to the dredging report
Yes.
that we had a pre-bid walkthrough meeting yesterday that I got to go through. And I think it was successful. We had a number of contractors. And I'm particularly excited because one of them called this morning and told me he was going to bid. So I know we're going to get at least one and maybe some others. So hopefully
Where did that grant come from?
it's from Business Oregon.
The business organization?
And it's a grant / loan. It's part. So half and half. So hopefully we will get that done. And I'm glad we're starting early.
Can be.
Well, half of it's forgivable, so that's the grant. And then the other part will be a very low interest loan. It's like 1% or something.
Oh, no, I meant, it's not a forgivable or.
Fully forgivable? No. There's no
That's the
such
problem
thing.
is we're going out and finding all these things, but that.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Those things are like.
Haven't you heard
They're
that?
out there.
Well, if you
Well,
find them, if you find them, you let me know. You go do it.
We're doing great.
Trust.
We're doing great to get grants at all. It hasn't really been something that we've been strong at in the past.
Okay, so yeah, and then
Managing a board full.
moving on, then the next item is my report, and it's not the state of the city, but it is
Nope.
just a report. I put a bunch of things in there. I have been doing a lot of work trying to beat down the pavement for money and grants and other details. So yeah, last week we put in a letter of interest. I told you the other day about to the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, which is another one of those things that's like, would be probably half loan, half forgivable funding to see if we can get some money for projects. So that's, anyway, so those are a bunch of things that I've been working on. If anybody has any questions, I can ask that. Okay, moving on to the next thing is we have finance. It's not quite available, but do you just want to say something about working with the Kaitolas of, I mean, it's
Yeah, I
kind of
have.
like they're getting there, right? So-
Right, so we, again, and you have the full Kaitola contract, which was misprinted in your last one, so we do have that for you to peruse if you would like to. Basically working with Eric Kaitola, who is the father, and then Leaf Kaitola, who is his son, who is coming on board to help out. Again, they are also working with Curry County for their financial records and things. So we start the audit, the 24-25 audit next week, but Dina and with Joseph and all of us trying to add things to be ready to upload those things and getting the Kaitolas kind of on board with that. One thing they did go do, the Kaitolas went and actually spoke with our auditors to kind of find out our historical situation and what was going to be required and what happened. And even they said today feedback to Dina was, man, they're asking a lot of really specific things. So our auditors are quite thorough. And so, again, we're already working on that, but we are getting the Kaitolas onboarded, and even am trying to get the Kaitolas and Ann Heath connected so that if they, because they have specific questions of Dina, or, you know, not necessarily of me yet, but of Dina, of like, well, how was this done, or why was this done? And Dina's like, that was what Ann Heath suggested and where we were, which, remember, we got about halfway done with kind of this sort of vision, and then she needed to not be here doing finances. And so there's a lot of loose ends on that as far as that transition and where things, how they were going. And so we're trying to connect those two entities so that the Kaitolas can get up to speed quicker. So anyway, that's what we're trying to do, because again, we're also looking at auditing
Right.
and budgeting.
So before we move on to the next thing, I want to just reclaim the floor for a minute. At the end of my mayor's
Yes.
report, I wanted to say 2 items. One is, first of all, I wanted to announce that we're having this event tomorrow, which is a free drop-in tech assistance event, which for community members, if people need tech assistance, and you may be thinking, oh, how come the city is sponsoring this tech assistance event since we have so many other things? And it is a requirement of our community development block grant to put this on. And we have a wonderful community volunteer who's Kareem Shoemaker, who does this in Gold Beach, and she volunteered to help us. And Joseph, I think maybe you're on board to help too.
Yep.
So tomorrow between 11 and 1, if people have tech questions with their devices, they're welcome to come in and get free advice. And it's kind of the idea of helping our community to in that way. So that's cool. And I did also want to mention that I have asked Councilor Brennan to serve as Port Orford's representative on the Curry County Local Public Safety Coordinating Council, the LIPSIC. She has been willing to be helpful. And so that is a county committee that is established under by statute. And so she's attending that on our behalf, and will keep us posted if there's anything that would be helpful for us to know. Okay, so we will move on now to D, which is Public Works. It doesn't look like we have a report. Do you want to, I can say one other thing. Do you want to say
You can say
anything?
something first and
I'll just say I happened to talk to the engineer this week after he talked to John about the filtration system. And John, that's kind of something we're trying to see, that things are deteriorating and we need to upgrade or make some fixes. So fortunately, the engineer, well, this is going to be part of our discussion later, is getting involved in that situation to help us find the path forward. And so he has been talking to the vendor and kind of trying to find out what solutions are possible. And I think that's going to be helpful for us. And so that will, give John some support in that whole situation. So that's moving forward.
And I would say we posted this afternoon that the water break from last week, the end of last week, the boil water notices have been lifted, and the fellows were out handing out the "you're okay to drink your water again" notices. That was such a delay and took so long because the leak was on Thursday. And after a leak, you have to wait 24 hours before you can do the sampling of the water. McGowan Labs you can't turn in water samples on Friday. And then, so that left Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday was a holiday. And so they took those water samples and then took them up on Tuesday, and we got them back today. So I know there were folks who were, frustrated by that delay, but again, that has to do with the testing lab, not necessarily with us. So anyway, that was lifted. And so flush your pipes and do that. What I will say is that with the rain that has happened, our fellas have been working really hard to make sure we're getting water that's not as turbid, because the turbidity spiked. And so you can't run that through the plant. So our water is low right now. So if people would please be conscientious of their water use, because we can't run it through the plant if it is too stirred up. And since we haven't had the dredging done, we're dealing with that. So please just be aware that when we have these rain events, if it's even a half an inch of rain, it can stir up the pond, the reservoir, and then cause problems for our fellows at the plant. So they've been worried about that.
I noticed that we have to put in our water lines, put our 2 leakiest water lines. What are they?
I had a conversation with John about that, and he was saying your street, Hamlet,
Mhm.
and also 9th Street is what he's going to say right now, that those two, there was and these are the things that are shovel-ready projects. We all have them all ready to go, and that's part of why the gal at Business Oregon said, if you guys are going to do this lift, why don't you just put that in your letter of interest, and we can see if it will work out with the funding. And because each one of these things, as Melissa can attest, is such a lift. It's such a lift to get it going, and then it's a lift on the back end. So you kind of, don't want to be going out and asking for 50 cents here and there. You want to. So, we're getting good counsel, I think, from people in state agencies and some of the technical assistance agencies that are helping. So anyway, good question.
This is the focus. Like Mayor Ann is working 80+ hours every single week on this. No, truly, like on this stuff. I mean, we couldn't be doing this without it, but it's not easy to just go out and say, oh, we'll get a grant, or, oh, do these things. I mean, there are so many little boxes to check and levels of bureaucracy to wade through to get these things done. And it's just been a monumental lift, but we're working at it. So I ask for people's patience, and we know it's not right, but we are working our heinies off to get this figured out.
Okay, so moving on then to planning. Joseph, is there anything you want to say?
I'm just going to summarize my report that's in the packet. The 2 main things to come out of this month's Planning Commission meeting. The first one is the dark sky and enforcement recommendations, which all of you will be looking at a little bit later tonight. The other thing is sort of a PSA from Crystal Shoji, our head planner. We already touched on this at last month's meeting, but I'd like to reiterate. The city staff will never send an email to citizens asking for them to pay for something with a link. We won't reach out and ask you for credit card information over the phone. Scammers are impersonating planning staff from various municipalities. So we just want to make sure our citizens are aware that if you get contacted from the city, we aren't going to tell you to, pay by clicking the link or ask you for your information. We'll say you can come on down and pay in person.
Thank you
Is
so
that
much.
something that can be on our website?
Yeah. Is that-
We're on the back of the water bill. I think I've
We could-
seen it.
I was gonna say, I put it on there. I think I put it on there last time, but yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to liaison reports. Park, Sarah.
It's all in the report, so I don't need to reiterate it. but
Right,
I
okay.
actually have someone that's considering becoming a member of our commission, and I again implore you to help us recruit. We need 2 more members.
2 more.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I have a quick question for you. I see here that the new hosts are working on the mini golf course. I heard that, it was vandalized pretty badly. Are they helping to fix it, or is there a need to get more help for that, or?
I don't know if they've actually they've cleaned them up. They keep
Okay.
them clean, so, all the debris is off of them. Now, I don't know what they're doing as far as, they're on vacation.
Okay.
For a couple of weeks. But they, if they're going to, there's a top of the lighthouse is gone, and,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
other things like that. So
Need to be fixed.
someone stole the horseshoe or something.
Oh.
But anyway, but I can check in with them. I don't know.
Okay, I was just wondering because it seems like that's a need. That's such a beloved little place, and I
It
bet we
was-
could get some volunteers to help with that.
Yeah, we could probably do that. A lot of people use the mini
I
golf.
think
course.
Susan went by and looked at the lighthouse, but I can't remember.
Yeah,
She
I
said
think it needs its little light back.
Yeah,
One of our great our helpers in town here, the plumb level square Deb. That's the premise of or the very beginning of her pouring money into things was because her late husband liked corny miniature golf. So I think that prioritizing that would be great if we can. She's.
Who is this?
Deb McNeil,
Oh, Deb
Yeah.
McNeil.
yes,
Yeah.
who's fabulous. So. She's
I
been
think
very
it, I
pro
think
Port
it's,
Orford.
I think it's really a fun little thing that we have. It's just
Yeah, no, That
delightful.
was her late husband just loved corn, and that's the way she put it to me. It's just the cornier the better.
Okay.
Rotary placed a lot of those items when they put them there, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure we
There were
could.
individuals. I did the heart and.
Yeah, your heart, that's
Susan did
fabulous.
one, and-
They're really sweet and special. So anyway, okay.
and
One other,
McNeil, I think, was a big contributor. Oh,
Question.
yeah, it's.
Yeah.
She always has,
Yeah.
yeah. When we did our last levy for law enforcement, just another example of her giving that foundation in honor of her late husband. She's just a great member of the community.
She's done community building things and stuff too, so.
yeah, she
very
has,
helpful.
she is. Okay, so moving on, I don't think we have anything from historic preservation, from the port, Brett?
No, there's still, so there's some stuff going on at the port with federal OSHA, and it's been going on for about 6 or 8 months now, and we've had to ask for variance, kind of get around some of nobody can believe the things that go on down there, in the real world, people don't do that, I guess. But we are working frantically to present them with our program and how and why we need to do it. And we're supposed to be done here by the end of this month. We're going to try to get another extension, but yeah, we had been operating under a variance from the state OSHA for many years, and that had expired. And actually it expired years ago, but we didn't really realize it. And then the federal OSHA came along and just red flagged everything, it's just the whole thing. I guess people don't do stuff like that. I don't know. But so there's lots of new safety protocols being established and implemented. There's some concern. There's been some legal demands made by not of the port, but of the Dungeness crab fishery, which is about 90% of our revenue. That could very well cripple the fishery in response to whale entanglements. There's been an increase of whale entanglements, and the Oregon fleet's been ahead of every other, we've really been proactive, but tomorrow I'm going to go testify up and say there's either going to be some big changes, and it would definitely affect our business here at the city too. As much as 35%, I guess, has been reported is contributing to the economy. But I guess just throwing it out there could very well be a really big reduction in the harvest level of our crabs. So I will keep you guys posted on that, and hopefully calmer heads will prevail. We'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. I have nothing to report from the Watershed Council. Do you have anything from the fire?
No.
Okay, fire.
They do have new lights in the
Yeah.
fire hall.
New lights, yes.
New lights.
That's
They can see. They're very
that's-
excited.
About the most exciting thing.
That is the most exciting.
But that is very
That's
exciting.
a big thing.
That's been an unresolved matter for a very long time.
Yes.
So congratulations on getting that one done. Okay, so now we're moving on. We have no old business, and under new business, we already did the measure for the 8A. We already adopted the budget proposal for Main Street. And so now we are moving on to the police levy part of things. And so after our workshop, I typed up what I thought we had agreed to and sent it out to everyone. And then I also, in an effort to be preventative or whatever, ahead of proactive, I sent it to the county clerk, who recommended I send it to the Department of Revenue. And they sent back specific recommendations, which is what Joseph put on your table today. So it's some slight changes. Like they have to have us say some very specific per $1,000 of assessed value, and the word impose, you can look at it, is added. So anyway, this is what we have to work from. And then the other thing that came up, I'll just say before we go on, is Joseph looked at how we have to proceed with this, and he realized that it's not just a resolution that we take to adopt this. We have to have a hearing. So we have to meet again next week for a hearing about this. And we also have to do another meeting next week about another hearing too. So what we need to do tonight is do our best to come up with the language that we want. And then we will not be able to actually we'll take action on the language, and then we can actually formally have the hearing and then do it next week. If that makes sense.
What's that question mark after 26, 27?
Oh, I think that's an error. I'm sorry. Oh, no, it's a
It is
question
a
mark because it's a
question.
question.
Question mark.
Shall the city
Oh, question. mark.
impose
It is.
$350 per thousand of assessed value to operate police services for the next 5 years, beginning 27, 28? It's kind of weird because the way he said it, he said it should state impose $350 per thousand of assessed value. So it's a little bit, in my view, not grammatical, but this is what the guy from DOR said.
Did we use that same terminology on the last one?
Funding for the, we have a word.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we can do that. You want to
Oh, say that?
say that?
I wasn't at the other one, thank you, from last week. But on the title, since we have a word to play with, it seems to maybe provide sustainable funding for the Port Orford Police Department. Seems a little more
Do we have
flowy.
We have a
one word on the title or 2 words?
You have
You
two
had
words, you had
Two
two
words,
words to play with on the title, so
Okay.
maybe a the would.
We can add a the.
Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it.
So then the next one, it's a little bit hard to read there, but it says, shall the city impose $350 per 1,000 of assessed value to operate police services for 5 years, beginning 26, 27? This measure repeals and replaces the current local option tax and may cause property taxes to increase more than 3%. And of course, that second sentence is what's required. And we have the leeway of the first sentence, but we didn't really, because we had to go back in and put in impose and of assessed value in there. So they kind of eat up every word you have.
Shall the city impose $3.50 per 1,000?
So you can have whatever you want as long as it's not more than a word.
Right, for a slight adjustment.
We agreed to we gave you your,
Do you agree? Do you agree with my the?
yeah.
Cool.
It would be cool if we could put in
Cool.
equitable somehow or something fancy. But no, that was good.
Supercalifragilistic,
Yeah.
expialidocious.
For the awesome.
Yeah.
The question doesn't have anything about the $12 fee, but there's no room. Just in the summary, we just have to be,
But it's clear about eliminating the $12 fee in the summary.
yeah.
We did hash through it pretty well during the last meeting.
I'm comfortable with it.
We have a lot of words left on the table, but one of the big comments last time was maybe there were too many words. So this keeps it really simple. We're leaving a lot of words on the table. So if everybody's,
It covers, seems like it covers all the bases.
People, it being less than can be more in this
Yes.
instance.
Yep.
And
it's annoying that we can't say that that we have to use words like impose, but
Right.
that is the rule.
Yeah, it seems forceful.
It is.
I have a question. I do have a question. So in the summary, near the bottom where it says, upon passage of the levy, the city will eliminate its $12 monthly public safety fee, right? But if not repealed and replaced, the existing levy will continue, but the city will be forced to reduce police services in response. Is there something that would say, and we will maintain the $12 monthly fee?
I think it'll make it.
I just, again, I sorry, I wasn't there.
But it does,
But I-
it does
Because
change the amount, like if you're going like this,
Yeah,
it does change this.
I mean, if you're deciding to leave the $12 monthly fee and the old levy, then it seems like you should tell them you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
keep the $12 fee
Yeah,
in
so-
addition to the,
I think that's a good
Status
idea.
quo.
We were kind of wrestling with, you know how it is when you're in
Yeah,
a previous draft, you're
indeed, I
wrestling with
do,
other things. But
yes.
what about if not repealed and replaced, the existing levy and $12
$12
fee will continue?
yes.
Oh,
yes,
perfect.
yes, yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just so it's clear, so there's no
That is-
wishy-washy
that's a
from you
clear way
people.
of
Yes,
saying it.
yep, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joseph has his hand up.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
Spare the word $12 monthly fee,
Yeah.
just to make it clear. as
It,
clear as-
it does
there,
say
perfect.
monthly, yep.
All right, the existing levy, and I could say $12 monthly fee again. We can
Mhm.
replace it. We
monthly, yeah.
have it.
Yep, I think we need to put that on there.
So we have it. Okay.
It was interesting, just a thing came up on my listserv of city administrators that other places talking about a fee and how the wording of the ordinance and how that was going. And someone, I can't recall what city it was from, but asking about doing a different rate, not to open cans of worms, but doing a different rate for RV parks, hotels, motels, based on the level of service that would have to be there, and that they hadn't been charging that. They thought they were, but it wasn't written correctly in their ordinance, and so they were getting different ideas for that. So lots of places are, one, doing fees and also figuring out how to leverage that based on how much police protection or the number of people that are there too. For instance, RV parks, hotels, motels, whatever else. So I thought that was an interesting thing that I hadn't heard in our discussions.
Well, when we adopted that fee, if you recall, it was kind of an emergency, but
Per connection.
we looked at, I think it was Florence, I forget who, we looked at another city's ordinance. I believe it was Florence at that time, and kind of used it and tried to, because we were needing to
Right.
not invent the wheel, but that's good to keep in mind for the future,
mhm.
that other cities are working on these things.
Yep.
Okay, Joseph, while you were gone, I explained that we adopt the language tonight, but that we're going to have to, or the ballot language, but then we'll bring it to the hearing next week
As a
for
formal resolution.
a formal resolution next week. So any other questions or concerns? We've added a the, and we've added and $12 monthly fee.
I'll move to accept the proposed ballot language for the police levy as written. With the changes.
As amended, okay.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Counselor Rask,
Yes.
Counselor Lovendall,
Yes.
Counselor Webb,
Yes.
Counselor Pogwizd,
Tim, yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Brennan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have The next thing on the agenda is the Planning Commission. If you recall, whenever that was, we had asked them to help us make an amendment to the dark sky ordinance having to do with holiday lights. And you see that we have a thoughtful letter here that gives us a recommended language change for that. And, oh, here's Greg on cue.
Oh,
Hi, Greg.
How was that? How did that magic work that you showed up?
I saw him. He was listening on the meeting.
Yeah, he was waiting out the car.
That's right.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
For you.
Well, anyway, I was just giving the quick overview that, do you want to come up and give one, or do you want to, since you're here, or?
So yeah, the overview is I kind of said everything. So we've been talking about, so council asked us to do, as I said, to the two things, work on the holiday language and to make the outdoor lighting code enforceable. And these codes are hard. These codes are deep and they take a lot of work. And actually at our last meeting, the meeting before last, Rolly Willis came and gave us some information. And he said, whatever you do, you got to work with the police. And so enforcement is really the issue. There's how you enforce, and then there's what you enforce. And the part of the code that we have actually will be enforceable, I believe, in August as it was written. There was a five-year grace period given 5 years ago when we voted on it, and that 5 years will be up in August. So that's kind of a loophole. So, and I think that's one that some people have been weaseling out of. We just talked about it and we said, and then the other piece is, I'm sorry, I've been working all day. I'm a little bit fried.
Do you want this piece of paper, by the way? Or do you want?
No, that's fine. I know what it says. I just, it actually says everything.
Is glare defined somewhere?
Is
Glare, I think it was glare or.
So I believe it is, but so the real crux of the issue is that this code is not the best code in town, in the country, but it does about 90% of what it should do. And that is, there are two things that every outdoor lighting code says, that I looked at, that form the basis of the code. One is shields on lights. So that the light doesn't shine upward, it doesn't shine above horizontal. Our code has that. The other one is light trespass. So that light doesn't fall on another person's property. It's trespass. And all the codes have it, and it's in numbers. From 0.1 in residential neighborhoods to 0.4 in commercial neighborhoods. Some vary. Ours says 0.2 right now. But so if we were going to have a code, if we're going to enforce a code, we have the bones to do it in this code. We could spend a lot of time and come up with, varying light trespass levels for different places. And we may want to do that at some point. It's very possible that the city, that you all will want to do that, and we will take that on. But I believe, and we believe on the Planning Commission, that the the conversation that's already been started, which is how to help our police enforce things by giving them fine amounts for different things, prioritizing different violations and how paperwork, getting the flow of how to enforce. Those are the things that make it easier for makes their job easier, so that they're not just seen as oh, I'm going to pick on you now. But if the community comes together and says, these things, this is what we choose to enforce, and our police force is just an instrument of the community. So.
Well, I have a question or something to say. So I've been under the impression that actually we kind of have two things going on here, which is that there's been an effort to figure out how do we enforce our ordinances? Like that's sort of a meta question. And then we also have this subset of the question is, well, we've got this dark sky ordinance that we get a lot of complaints about, and that how do we make that more enforceable? That it's kind of like two different things that are, I guess, going to come together sooner because of the deadline with the lighting ordinance. But anyway, just I guess you're putting them together now. I had been thinking of them as two separate questions that we're working on.
And so one of our commissioners, Stephanie Gomes, has spoken with the planning directors of Bandon, Brookings, and Gold Beach, and as to how they do enforcement, what they do. There's some, and so you'll see there's a paragraph toward the end where I say something, or where we say something like, these are the things that are going to make it work. Education is one. So all the towns all have an active education. So we recommended that Joseph put the dark sky brochure in the box at Ray's with a notice that, August is coming. And I don't know, other articles or however, whatever we can do to educate it, and education will be an ongoing thing. So education is one. All the towns have some form of volunteer input. Interestingly, those three towns, their code enforcements for this type of thing go through the planning department, which is kind of, our planning department is pretty busy, I know, but I'd like to see some volunteers and possibly officers or reserve officers, or I don't know. But we, Councilor Brennan and I and the mayor spoke with two of our police officers a few months ago, and we had a little report on that. I'm not sure that we have given this to the council, but it's something that the planning commission is interested in working on and moving forward with. So I guess thumbs up or thumbs down on that would be kind of good, or we'll just move ahead with that unless we hear otherwise, I guess.
Which part? Is that the?
Okay,
I just have a
Sarah,
quick question.
yeah.
Somewhere in here, I read that failure to comply is a violation of an ordinance and is a Class C civil. You probably can quote it better than I, Chief. But it's stated in there. If the
I think the outdoor lighting code refers to Class C.
Up to Class C, I think is how it's done, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, but the question is, did you have a question, Brett?
My question was, what was this question? I mean, is that to move forward with crafting a way to put teeth to it? Is that what?
Yeah. So in my mind, what I would like to see happen is somebody, and I'm on the planning commission. We're all interested in this, and we are a functional kind of a function of the city in some way. come up with a proposal to you all. Here's what we think should be the fee schedule. Here's what we think should be the priorities. Here's a checklist that you can use, maybe some forms. Who has to do what, when the official notice has to go out.
Yeah.
Just get into that and make a proposal to you.
That'd be
I think that'd be
Really
great,
good.
Greg. The other thing, I think when we were talking initially also about the cars, the vehicle, kind of
Right of
those
ways.
sort right-of-way issues.
Right.
So I guess what I'm asking is, I think that was like the initial idea of the priority to do that. Are you
Yeah.
planning to come up with something that's just general? I mean, clearly with the dark sky part, there's some very specific technical matters, like somebody has to know how to go out with a light meter and read it and say, so we do get a lot of complaints. And then it's kind of like, it is not a matter of judgment. It is a line but I don't think we have that. We don't have that capacity right now on staff to do that.
Right.
And that's something that either,
Correct. That was my concern with this, is that, having staff do that and having the equipment and knowing those things, that would be something that's,
That equipment would have to be calibrated. You're talking a bunch of stuff in order to make a ticket stick. I don't know.
So I will say that the light trespass piece, which has the lumens at the property line, so forth, that is a little tricky, and some equipment might be necessary. It's really simple, though, if a light is shielded or not.
Yeah, if you keep the light on your property, like you said, there are two things that people need to do. They need to point light down and keep it on their properties.
So
I
that's,
think if they've done that, they've done everybody a favor, including their neighbors.
that's the thing we get most complaints about. And I think it's just become much more acute with the LED lights right now, which are so bright that they're just,
Yeah.
they're much more glarish. If you walk around town at night, I actually had to deal with that same issue. The community building, one of the lights they put on was not dark sky compliant, and it was just like, and then they went back and were able to put a fixture on that works, and it's,
Right,
it's,
okay.
yeah.
That's just,
it's too bright.
it's almost blue light.
But anyway, I think there's two parts of this. What I read in here, this idea that you've put together, the things, identifying and prioritizing the offending situations.
in general.
In general. For those, we talked about what are the things that we get the most complaints about, right-of-ways, lighting. There may be some other things, but I think those are some of the biggies that I end up hearing about. And then having a path, so it's not like reinventing the wheel every time we get these kinds of complaints. I think it'd be great if you guys could pull together a proposal or help us with that myself. Does anybody have any concerns or questions about having these guys do a little bit more work on that? It's been something that we've talked about for like ever.
15 years.
How can we enforce ordinances better? What does it take? So you guys are the first ones to,
Every time it gets on the agenda, Senator Smith calls me and says, don't mess with that dark skies, because that was a really contentious.
well, he was involved with it. That's what
I
but
know.
we then, after that one, which was, I've been involved in it too all along.
Yep.
We spent, like, I think, Greg, when you were on the planning commission, we had the former planning commission chair was doing it we were doing it like 3 years going to meetings. I mean, it was,
And I thought that came out, that was a pretty good improvement over what we had originally. But
Yeah.
the first original one was you couldn't have more than a 25 watt light bulb on your porch. And that's just not bright enough for safety.
okay, well, so I think the finding with the lighting is that the code is good and we just have to figure out how to enforce it.
The code is reasonable enough.
Decent.
It's good enough, I think.
Yeah. Okay, Solid.
We did put a lot of thought into it. And it was a lot of time.
yeah, and that second iteration was specifically dealing with all these LED
That's when we
lighting.
got into because the first
Kelvins,
one,
yeah.
the first one, LED lights didn't exist, so we didn't
Yeah.
have to talk about lumens and Kelvin and all this. We
Warm
had to
light.
learn all those terms
I
and
know.
apply them, and what's blue light, and what's white light, and what's yellow light. and-
We've all learned a lot with it. Okay, so I think that's good. And then the question is, then you have given us some very specific language about the lighting, the holiday lighting. And so if people feel comfortable with that, I think we could just make that, could we make that amendment now, Joseph, or would we have to put it on the agenda as a specific
So,
amendment?
You would have to direct staff to bring a resolution to implement that recommendation into the code.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion that we put it on the agenda for next month's meeting, that amendment for the holiday.
Second.
And then we'll discuss it then, or do we
Well,
discuss it now?
Well,
It's just this one liner here.
the
Yeah,
holiday lighting.
I have a question
Seasonal.
about seasonal lighting. So seasonal lighting is our new verbiage, and holiday lighting goes away, correct?
Mhm.
So November, December, January goes away, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
And then we just do seasonal lighting 90 days.
90
So
days.
If your thing was 4th of July, you could do May, June, and July, right? If that's what you felt you needed to do.
But what if you're like one of these people who does Valentine's Day and Halloween and,
They get a
But-
9.
but you could do it,
I think you could do year round.
you could just do your thing as long as you didn't keep it up all year long, or as long as you're, the key thing is to not,
Do
to
we-
create glare or
Is that a
adjacent.
thing? Is that a thing?
Yes, people put, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
is
Oh,
there
there.
complaints about holiday lights? Or do we hear? Or are we like? fighting this monster?
I mean, I think holiday lights, there's two thinkings. Some people hate them and some people love them. I think they're put up to make most people happy.
Yeah.
So that's my personal opinion, but some may not agree. I mean, I don't know.
I think they're, yeah, the little lights that people put up
Yeah.
to be
They're
festive.
to be seen, they're festive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the question came up because somebody,
Well, we were talking Port Gorford, and so that's not
Oh,
in
right.
Yeah.
November, December, or January. That would be in October, so people want to decorate for half the
The
thing.
sentence covers that.
It does.
I mean, I think,
But there are folks who put up, who put up Valentine's Day lights, and then somebody else puts up 4th of July, and so
Get angry?
well, like if you live next to Clark Griswold. it might
Yeah,
be
right,
next
right.
door, right?
I don't know that they got angry. It was just because it was called out of November, December,
No,
and
that's right.
January,
Right.
then
Yeah.
that limited people into
I
do
just
that.
wonder, my question is do we hear complaints about people's Christmas lights?
No,
I
but people
always
were
think
coming
this-
to ask about Port Gorford, and the question was, well, it's like, according to this code, you can't do that. And I guess the 90 days, my question, thinking of a police officer or me having to write a letter, the 90 days, do I have to count how
Right.
many days the person has lights up? And did they get 5 at Valentine's Day and 12 at
right.
4th of
Actually,
July?
that's
And
what
then
I
does
was-
that
Holiday
count
light
into the?
permits. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, for
My
me,
guess is there's not one person in town that has lights up more than 90 days. I'm just gonna go out there and say that, and I'm not a person of the night. So
Well, I
when
wonder,
it's dark out, Tim's usually already in bed.
I wonder if it might be a better approach to say holiday lighting is allowed, provided it does not create glare on adjacent streets or,
yes,
be
I
a
would get rid of
problem.
the day thing, because then if people,
So the National Electrical Code says temporary lighting can only be up for 90 days. That's our state, that's our national.
Well, then we don't even need to say that. If it's already codified, is it?
well, no, because he's saying it's the national standard. It's not a
National
law,
Standards.
not a law.
Well, it's our national electrical, if you wanted to.
Oh, okay. Oh, because if you're
National
going to put it up
Electrical Code.
permanently, then you should have it wired to code and
If yeah, you can put up-
temporary.
Yeah,
Okay, got it,
it's called temporary lighting.
Yes.
got it.
And that's it's the nature of holiday lighting or seasonal lighting, that it is temporary.
It's just
Yeah,
kind of hard to enforce.
It's
Yeah.
15.17.030, right?
Okay.
That's the definition.
You know,
Okay,
maybe
well, why
the
don't-
length of time is not as important as the glare or the,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's the most
violates
important.
That would be, yeah.
you know.
But So that, and I think that comes back to Brett's first question, glare. Okay,
Yeah.
so when you put up holiday lights, you put them up for people to be seen, just because they can see them, is that mean
That's not-
that's glare?
So some codes get down right down.
Professor
into the
Levendahl, what
weeds.
is the definition of glare?
Well,
please?
it's quite wordy.
Oh, Joseph has it, okay.
We have
Yeah, I
quite a-
have
quite a definition there.
So according to our code, glare means stray unshielded light in the field of view that is brighter than the level to which the eyes are adapted and may result in A, a nuisance or annoyance such as light shining into a window, B, discomfort causing squinting of the eyes, C, disabling vision by reducing the ability of eyes to see into shadows, or D, reduced visual acuity.
Subjective, that's subjective.
Seasonal lights are hardly.
So the progressive,
Here we go.
the more, some of the other outdoor lighting codes, they actually specify the watts that it can, that an unshielded light can be. Like what Tim is saying with the porch light, they actually say 25 watts or 5 watts or whatever it is.
On Christmas
This one
lights,
says
though, I
10
mean, it may be the wattage today, but it may, like the next year, they may.
Well, they're all
They
LED
put up
now.
10,000
Most of them are
lights.
Yeah.
LED.
It could be, what's the word, lux? Is it lux? No.
Lumens and kelvins now.
What's lux? What's lux mean?
I
It means-
think most holiday
Fancy
lights don't
deluxe.
have that.
Times 10, I believe.
Light and
Unless they have a
Lux
Lux is,
light on
another measure of.
Santa and sleigh.
That's true too.
okay, you guys, so let's pull this together. So I think, so what you're saying, I mean, what I'm understanding now is the reason we have this in here is because if you're having permanent lights up, then they really need to be wired to code. And so when somebody puts up holiday lights, it's temporary and they don't have to be to code because you're just plugging them in. Some of us use them year round, but some of them do not. So the question is, it sounds like we do need to have something to allow people to have holiday lights. And so,
And as Melissa said, it came up because Front Street or
Yeah, Main Street.
Port Orford wanted to put up outside for
October.
Halloween.
Right.
This will do that. It doesn't really change much. It just makes it possible to have
I don't think.
legal outdoor lighting anytime.
Problem.
I don't think we do either.
I don't think we have a holiday light problem.
But I
I
will say
think this sentence will fix everything. I mean, if you guys
Yeah.
really want to go strict as can be, you can put holiday lights are allowed for 30 days around given holidays, but I don't
Who's
think we
gonna
need to
count
do
that?
that because I don't think we have a problem.
Yeah.
No, because then you end up with someone who practices black magic. and
Right.
They have a holiday on this day.
Right.
and I just-
That's what I'm getting. Yeah,
That's
that's
what-
right.
okay, so it sounds like, does anybody have any problem with the solution? It sounds like you guys came up with a decent solution. And it says 90 days, but we have to keep it in there because if we don't have 90
You
days,
can have some.
then we don't really have
I
a
just
provision
worry
to
about
be
the way that it
temporary.
says, like it was Tim's point, is visible on the street, adjacent street. And that's what a holiday light does.
That's what they
The
do.
very-
Well, but if it's create glare, they don't do that
No, they
unless
don't.
they're create,
No,
doesn't,
yeah, I
the
agree.
the glare definition that
No,
Joseph.
but this says, our recommended, let's see, glare, glare just means it's subjective. That definition is completely subjective. It says it
What makes you
uncomfortable. One guy's squint is another man's bitching day,
It even went as far as to say you could see them, basically, in the
I
description.
don't know, I thought it sounded like it causes discomfort.
Yeah,
and-
discomfort.
Well, that's
what I would think.
Her headaches.
That's subjective. Yeah. It's a weird one. That's why Lux is a different, so bear with me, Lux is
You don't get to see this anymore.
Well-
Give him ammunition.
it's an internationally recognized measure of light is what Lux is.
Well, we could, I mean, that gets back to what Tim is saying, and we could come up with that. We
I
could
just don't
figure out what
I don't think we do too.
what they are, but I think what we're saying is we're not probably going to have a problem with this.
I don't think anyone's going to go count the 90. I'm just going to tell you that we're not going to be that specific to
Right.
go count in 90 days. I'm not going to have
But do
every.
you understand why we have to say
I
90
do,
days?
I do understand
and
that.
we're not-
I'm just
yeah.
saying that,
Does that mean I got them on for 10 minutes tonight?
Correct.
10 tomorrow, so
Right,
it takes
yeah.
like 2 months to add up to 1 day?
I think there are a number of things in our code that are kind of in the weeds. that are not going to get enforced, ever going to get enforced. Nobody's going to enforce them. So that's why I say the main pieces of the code are there. Let's just let it,
Focus on
you know,
the key things.
Yep.
focus on the key things.
Thank you for your common sense, Greg.
No, I like it. I just can't see it being a problem.
Well, I haven't seen it personally being a problem, but then again, I'm not out at night, so.
Well, somebody, we could get one of those people, who, comes in and does it, but I don't think it's a problem either. It was just to solve that problem that we did have when we have law abiding citizens who want to abide by the law, which we appreciate,
Yeah.
and we're being flexible and adjusting.
And one other, oh,
I just want to say, the main thing, change you're making here is seasonal versus holiday. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
And getting rid of the
and getting
specific
rid of
months.
specific months.
Yeah. the
The
right.
reason is the
Easy.
reason for the lights.
Yes. And what I would say is the other piece of stop it. The other thing that was the issue was Port Gorford wanted to put like on the light posts, they wanted to put, in some towns, they have candy canes and they have snowflakes and whatever. They wanted for Port Gorford, they were talking about buying lights, holiday lights with the streamer things wrapped around to put on the light posts with Halloweens and skeletons and pumpkins and
Who
bats
owns the
and
light posts?
Where are the lights?
Are they our light posts? If they're not ours, I don't.
They are now, I think.
I believe they are now. And so they're talking about putting plugins and
We have to
running them
research
up to do the plugins to put these things on there. But with our current code, they wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's the bigger vision of where they're talking about going to do that along the main street,
All along Main Street.
all along Highway 101 through our community.
Well, they would have to get CCEC to agree to allow them to do that. Because we
Correct.
don't own every light that's down the highway.
Right,
We only own certain ones.
right. So that's another issue they're going to have to figure out. But before we even started, I was like, well, hold on, let me look. Oh, nope, you're talking October and this says November, December, and January. So that was where this whole thing started.
They'll make you take a camera off their posts. They do not.
They did that to the feds.
We
The
now
feds-
own them though, I think, in a
I don't
different
think we
way.
own everyone.
We don't own everyone. That's right. ODOT owns some of them. Okay, Joseph, did you have something?
I did, but I've
Forgot.
forgotten it.
You only have 15 minutes before you have to extend this meeting.
Yep.
I'll put that little time limit
Just
on there.
Another quick thing, another reason for the switch from holiday to seasonal is technically our code does not define holiday lights, but it does define seasonal lights. So in order to make it actually make sense, we needed to change it to seasonal lighting.
Very good.
Okay. Well, hopefully the discussion on this will make it go faster next month when we have to when we decide to adopt this. So we have a first and a second to put this on the agenda for next month. I'm going to call for the vote. If there's no further discussion. Counselor Brennan,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Pogwizd,
Jim, yes.
Counselor Rask,
Yes.
Counselor Lovendall, Counselor Webb.
Yes.
Okay. So Greg, I want you to please thank our planning commission members for doing the research on the enforcement stuff. And I think it would be great if you could continue to work with Counselor Brennan on the kind of larger enforcement piece and then bring those concepts into, thank you for reminding us that we have this deadline coming up with the dark sky thing and helping us figure out how we're going to work on that moving forward.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
I'm just going to mention Greg has also been doing this
Yes.
amazing work down. He's doing the audio system in the community building and has helped to raise money for it and has been spending the past like 8-10-hour days down there getting this sound system in. So thank you very much, Greg, for being
Thanks,
such a great
Greg.
city volunteer.
Again, fabulous volunteer.
Another fabulous city volunteer. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, scope of work for the SIP grant. So as I mentioned in my report, we got this SIP grant, which is, I forget what it's called, Sustainable Infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. And it's two parts, it's $50,000. One part, 20,000 is for a leak study and 30,000 was for some kind of feasibility study. And so we had initially, the engineer said, well, why don't we do a feasibility study for secondary water source? We're like, okay. But then after that, our filtration system started having trouble. So the wise people at Business Oregon said, you've got this grant, but I think it would help you more to refocus the grant towards solving this water filtration system, make it be a feasibility study for that. And you can like look at the alternatives, you can do some cost estimates, you can kind of pull things together and do that. So that's what was recommended to us by Business Oregon. And so we, fortunately, the engineer hadn't even come up with the scope of work for the previous thing.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Just a point of clarification. Verdantis, also known as Civil West. So Civil West Engineering, these are our engineers, and they've now changed, and they're now Verdantis. Yes, so that, just to clarify that, sorry.
Yeah, good point.
Can we clarify one?
Yeah.
Point you just made as
Yeah.
well? So you said 50,000 at first.
Yeah.
And then, but we want to shift the 30,000, but is the 20,000 still going to stay for the leak study?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the 20,000 will stay for the leak study,
Thank you.
and the 30,000 goes towards this.
Good.
And yeah, so this is, the scope of work is basically what Business Oregon recommended. And one of the other reasons they wanted to do this, I mentioned we put in a letter of interest for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. And this kind of study helps us to get into the lane for that. So there's all these like, I call it, I'm thinking of it now as like the Olympics of bureaucratic machinations. And so, if you go down the luge of this, then you get into the next category for the skating.
Shoot.
Yeah, the
this and
skeet shoot and then
moguls
the
of
skating
this.
rink of that, So anyway, that's kind of what this is all about.
What do you need from us? Do you need a
We
motion?
need a motion to be able to sign this scope of work, to approve this scope of work for $30,000 for Verdantis, which is still Marlin and the people at Civil West to do this.
So Marlin used to be the principal, basically, at
Civil West.
Now he is a department lead, which suggests to me there's been some sort of a,
Takeover or buyout.
something has happened.
Yeah.
And therefore it's not the same. Does that put us in a position to where we want to reevaluate who we're working with? I think it does. It
agree.
changes, it entirely changes who our partner is. It's not Civil West. It's not Marlin. Marlin is just a department lead now.
Because we had a contract with
Civil West.
Civil West. Is our contract going to be the same as it with this company?
Well, that's a good question. So far, what they've told us is it's basically all the same people, and they have, a different kind of ownership now, and that they are providing all the same services and such. So,
But when we adopted Civil West, they had a fee structure for when they did this and when they did this and
Yeah.
pages that had to be, it was quite a list.
when we got them as our engineer of record.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we just need to know if any of that's changed, was one of the most important things, I think.
Yeah, well, I think we're still in the contract with them, but we can look into that.
It's just a good question to ask.
I think that we have to,
Yeah, I just put it on my list of double checking that our contract is still able to.
because we have a contract with Civil West. We don't have a contract with Verdantis. I mean, just
We would have to
on its
make,
face,
we would have to make them our engineer of record.
right?
I think it's what Fred's.
Just to keep it legit, I don't know.
Good point.
And it may be that we may be forced to go back out to bid or something or I don't know, what would that be? Request
Request for proposal.
RFP, I don't know. I'm just saying that
He did, in the discussions with, you're absolutely right, but in the discussions with Marlon, it's the same folks. He said that they've been sort of absorbed, I'm using my term, sort of absorbed by Verdantis. And so they have more services and things and options available because of that. More partners, more resources, things like that to be able to use. So that's, I think, we both were like, oh, it's still our same people we've been dealing with. They're still out of Coos Bay. They're still the same folks, but you're right.
Yeah, I don't.
We
think-
have about
I don't-
5 different engineers we're dealing with on different projects with
projects,
them.
they're-
So
yeah.
we're
I
kind
don't
of,
necessarily think this is a bad thing. It's just, I think we have to.
Just have to
at least
clarify it.
Probably adopt them as our engineer of record for the city.
so do you want to put this off until next month? Or do
I
you
think
want
we
to-
need to
I think
get
we can
going.
do it with
Yeah.
Could we pass
I mean,
it
this is
provisionally?
6 months out, and this is a emergency problem right now.
No, I
And
just-
what we need to,
as long
what
as the-
we're,
Nothing, the fee structure is the same and liabilities are the same. It's a big thing. I mean, it's a big change. It really is. I don't,
They do say in this, though, what their fees
Fees
would be for this,
Is that what
for this
they were?
project.
is that what they were?
Yeah, they got those fees,
Well,
but
these are for.
when you adopt them as your engineer of record, they usually have a fee
Right.
structure, which we haven't,
In from them.
it's kind of like with the auditors, we've just had the same people and we haven't really seen that fee structure over the years, so
Well-
might be something to look at. I don't know.
yeah, and when I talked to the auditor, I think I told you they are now charging $150 an hour to cities, but they charge, he said they ended up charging us more like $85 an hour because
Yeah.
we had so many things and they knew we couldn't afford it.
Right.
So kind of cuts both ways. I feel like it cuts both ways with these guys. Sometimes too, they
Kind of
will
complicated.
say we're gonna,
Circuit rider and they do things
yeah, gratis.
for us
They
gratis.
know, yeah.
But why don't, so perhaps what we can do is, perhaps they could entertain a motion to move forward, because Gary, your point is right, that we kind of need them to move on this so that we can then be lined up for if we get invited to apply for that grant, then we're going to be wanting to have this to be able to show that we have done the work. Why don't we do that? And then, provided that, we can rectify this situation with Melissa can just get on it.
Even if it was just for this scope of work, they could be
Yeah.
doing that, and the others can be another issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
I'm,
will walk
I
and
think
chew
it's
gum
just
at the
a
same time.
technicality,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I think it is something we got to clean up. But anyway, I would make a motion to use Verandas.
Verdantis.
Verdantis or Verdantis.
What else can say whatever it is if I can't.
The company formerly known as Civil West.
Yes.
Yeah.
The artist formerly known as Prince.
Yes. Oh, all right.
For the total proposed project budget of 30,000 for the water treatment plant evaluation and recommendation. Is that what they're going to do? That's the scope of
I'll
work.
second that.
Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. Counselor Brennan,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Pogwizd,
Tim, yes.
Counselor Webb,
Yeah,
Counselor Lovendall,
Yes.
Counselor Rask.
Yes.
Okay.
maybe I'll just run this by our attorney and say, can we just, it might be that easy to.
Great.
And that's a 2-week turnaround.
might be
Okay,
Just
so-
scratch this name and put that.
I mean, it could be one, it could be like.
Yeah.
Small.
And I'm sure they've had to do this with other people and it might happen when we re-up or something, but yes.
Right.
We'll
I'll
work
figure it out.
That's a good point to figure out.
Yep. I'll figure it out.
Okay, so we are going to move on here. We'll see if we can race to get this meeting done without having to extend it, which would be great. Do we have any citizen considerations? Does anybody online want to raise a concern?
No one is raising their hand.
Okay,
No one has messaged.
and we have no one here in the room. Do we have any staff considerations?
It's 7:30.
I don't believe so.
Okay, any counselor considerations? Hearing none. Okay, the mayor, of course, always has to say something because she's a loudmouth. I'm just going to recognize that this meeting is the anniversary of Melissa being with us for 2 years. And she hasn't gone crazy yet.
Not gone crazy
And we are
yet.
so grateful that she's sticking with us.
The jury's out.
Hair's not even gray.
You don't see my white walls.
So anyway, have to do that.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Thank you.
Okay, we're glad
It's a
to.
team effort
It's
all the way around.
It's
I'll
a
tell you
team
that. It's a
effort for
team
sure,
effort.
but we're grateful that you're the team leader.
Helps.
And then just on here, we have to mention future meetings. As I mentioned earlier, we have to have a meeting next week at the same time for 2 public hearings. We have to have a public hearing on our CDBG grant. That's one of these like things where we have to have a public hearing at the end of the grant. That's the grant we got for the community building. And then we also have to have a public hearing to finish up our work on the police levy. Now, Joseph, I see that you had them here for 5:30 and 6. I do not think the one that's at 5:30 is going to, I think it's going to last for like 5 minutes. Is there any, we have to have them at those two times, right? We can't.
Since we've already advertised for those 2 times, those are the 2 times we have to do,
Okay.
because we have to give notice of the specific date,
Starting time.
location, and time
Okay.
for public hearing.
So I would recommend, I don't think that that first one is going to be very long. So if anybody wants to, bring a book to read or order a pizza or anything like that, just so that you know, that's the nature of the meeting. I think both of those hearings can be relatively short.
I'll be on.
Starting at 5:30?
Yes, starting at 5:30. And yeah, if we'll just have to, if you're not going to be here, please let me know, just because we're going to need a quorum at least. So let me know that. Okay. If there's nothing further to say, I am pleased to adjourn this meeting at 7:30.